You know that feeling, don't you? That baseline hum of just being overwhelmed.
The noise.
Yeah, the noise. And it's not just actual sound. It's the notifications, the news, the constant pressure to be doing something, seeing something, posting something.
It feels like a nonstop barrage of information and demands. You're always reacting.
Exactly. It's like you're standing in a hurricane of your own life, just trying to keep your balance, and it is exhausting.
We're constantly being tossed around by the waves,
Yeah.
the next email, the next headline, the next family crisis. We're just reacting.
We're thermometers. That's the perfect word for it. Yeah. Our internal state just reflects whatever the temperature of the room is. Hot, cold, chaotic, calm. We just bounce around.
Right.
But today, we're going to talk about a concept that suggests we can be the thermostat instead. An idea that points to a kind of profound stillness that exists behind all that noise.
A very old idea.
A very old and very big idea. We are opening up the Kybalion today to explore the principle of the all.
And that name alone, the all, it sounds huge, doesn't it? A little intimidating.
It really does. My first thought is always, okay, here comes the theology, My skepticism meter starts to ping a little bit when I see words with a capital letter like that.
Which is a very healthy reaction to have. And it's probably the most important thing we need to clarify right at the start.
Okay.
We're not talking about a religious deity in the conventional sense. This isn't about a man with a white beard on a cloud who's, keeping score.
Right. So it's not a belief system we're discussing.
Think of it more like what we could call a big mind hypothesis. It's a philosophical framework, a blueprint for how reality might be structured at its very deepest level.
So less about worship, more about mechanics, the
Yeah.
physics of consciousness.
Exactly. It's an attempt to understand the container that reality itself sits in.
And the goal for our conversation today isn't to convert anyone. It's practical. Can we take this really high-level, almost abstract hermetic concept and translate it into a usable tool?
A tool for mental stability.
For emotional regulation, for making clearer decisions, for finally getting out of that boat being tossed on the waves, and maybe, learning how to surf them instead.
To go from being a victim of the chaos to perhaps an architect of your own inner state. That's the promise.
I love that. Okay, before we dive in, and this is a deep one, I just have one quick thing to ask. If this episode helped you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one. It's a small click for you, but it genuinely helps us keep making these explorations.
It really does.
All right, let's get into the source material. We've got the Kybalion front and center, but how does it actually define the all? Because trying to define the infinite can often just lead to, riddles.
Well, it starts with a really powerful and pretty bold statement. It says, under and back of the universe of time, space, and change is ever to be found the substantial reality, the fundamental truth.
Okay, let's pause right there. Substantial reality. We need to unpack that phrase because when I hear substance, my modern brain immediately thinks of something physical.
Like a table or a rock.
Yeah, something solid, tangible.
And that's the common usage. But the philosophy here is using the word's origin. The etymology is key.
Okay.
Substance comes from the Latin, substare.
My Latin is non-existent, so please translate.
Sub means under.
Yeah.
And stare means to stand. So substance literally means that which stands under.
That which stands under. So it's the foundation, the essence underneath the surface appearance of things.
Precisely. And then you have reality. In this context, reality doesn't just mean things that exist. It means that which is real in the sense of being fixed, permanent, and unchanging, enduring.
Okay, so a substantial reality is the permanent foundation that stands under everything else.
Everything else that changes. And that's the contrast it sets up. Think about how we usually experience the world.
In constant flux.
Total flux. Birth, growth, decay, death. Empires rise, they fall. You feel happy, then you feel sad. The stock market is up, then it's down.
Right. The Kybalion calls this the universe of change, right?
Yeah, that's the term it uses. It's the world of inflow and outflow, building up and tearing down. Nothing stays the same for a moment.
Like the old Greek idea, you can't step in the same river twice.
Exactly. But the core argument of Hermeticism is that you can't have change without something unchanging to measure it against. You can't have movement without a still background.
A movie needs a screen.
That is the classic analogy, and it's perfect. Imagine you're in a dark theater. The movie is playing. It's full of color, action, drama, sound. It's constantly moving, constantly changing.
That's our lives. That's the news cycle. That's the chaos.
That's the universe of change. It's captivating, it's emotional, it pulls you in. But what is making that whole experience possible?
The screen.
The screen. And what is the screen doing?
Nothing. It's
Yeah.
just there. It's blank. It's still.
It's fixed. It holds the movie, but it is not affected by the movie.
Yep.
If there's an explosion in the film, the screen doesn't get scorched. If there's a flood, the screen doesn't get wet.
Wow. Okay. That image is actually incredibly comforting. So the all is the screen.
The all is the substantial reality, the screen that holds the entire movie of the universe of change. And this is where it takes a huge leap. It then defines the nature of that screen.
And it's not just some kind of, I don't know, cosmic fabric.
No, it defines it as infinite living mind.
Infinite living mind. So the absolute basement level of reality isn't matter. It's not particles and quarks. It's consciousness.
That's the hypothesis. The text basically argues that mind is the fundamental substance. Matter is described as just a lower vibration of mind, or as it puts it, interrupted energy.
How does it justify that? It's a pretty big claim.
It uses a simple logical proof. It says that nothing can rise higher than its own source.
You can't get something from nothing.
Right. And since we as human beings demonstrably possess life and mind, we are conscious, then the source from which we sprang cannot be lifeless, mindless matter. How could mind emerge from dead rock?
So because mind exists here, the source must also be mind.
It must be at the very least living mind. And since it contains everything, it must be infinite.
But then, almost in the next breath, it hits you with a paradox. It says, this all is unknowable.
Yes, in its essence, the all is unknowable.
That feels a little like a cop-out, doesn't it? Here's the secret of the universe, but you can't actually understand it.
It can feel that way at first, but if you think about it, it has to be true.
Mm.
It's a matter of logic.
How so?
Can a teacup hold the entire Pacific Ocean?
No, of course not.
Our finite minds are the teacup. The infinite mind is the ocean. We simply don't have the capacity to contain or comprehend the infinite. Our brains are wired to process a very, very small slice of reality so we can find food and not get eaten.
So trying to fully grasp the all would just break our brains.
It would be like trying to load the entire internet onto a flip phone. But, and this is the crucial pivot in the text, it says that we must accept the report of reason that it exists.
We can't know what it is, but we can logically deduce that it is.
Exactly. So the big takeaway from this section isn't that you need to develop some superpower to perceive God. The practical takeaway is a shift in your fundamental assumption about yourself.
From what to what?
From, I am a random biological accident floating in a meaningless, chaotic void, to, I am held within a vast, intelligent, living structure.
That is a massive shift.
It changes everything. One assumption leads to a baseline of anxiety and alienation. The other leads to a baseline of, well, of stability and connection.
It's the difference between feeling like you're in free fall versus feeling like you're standing on a floor. You might not be able to see the floor, but your reason tells you it's there holding you up.
That's a perfect way to put it. It provides a substantial ground for your own psychology.
Okay, so that is the deep, heady, metaphysical foundation. But this conversation is all about application. Because knowing this stuff intellectually is one thing, but if I'm still losing my mind in traffic, has it really done me any good? So, how do we bring this down from the clouds? How do we translate the all into a framework for getting through a stressful workday?
This is where we move into what we can call the big mind framework. We're translating the metaphysics into practical psychology. And the first component, the first pillar of this framework is simple. Reality is bigger than your story.
Reality is bigger than your story. I think I need that on a Post-it note on my monitor.
We all probably do. The very concept of the all implies a macro perspective, a huge frame of reference. Most of our day-to-day suffering, our anxiety, our anger, comes from being trapped in our small story.
What do you mean by the small story?
The small story is the ego's narrative. It's, he disrespected me, I'm going to be late, this project is a disaster, why do they look at me that way? When we are trapped in that small story, the event we're focused on fills our entire mental screen. It becomes our whole world.
It's like holding a penny right up to your eye. It's just a tiny little thing, but because it's so close, it can block out the sun.
That is the perfect metaphor. The perceived offense or the stressor isn't actually that big in the grand scheme of things, but its proximity to our ego makes it feel all-encompassing. Acknowledging the all is the act of moving that penny away from your eye,
Of putting it back into perspective.
of restoring the background. This is a direct parallel to what the Stoics practiced. We have Marcus Aurelius' writings here, and he was obsessed with this idea.
Right, the view from above.
The view from above.
Yeah.
Here's a man who is the emperor of the known world, dealing with plagues and war and constant political backstabbing, unimaginable stress. And in his private journal, he's constantly reminding himself to zoom out.
To see the bigger picture.
A much bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
He would visualize the entire Earth as just a tiny dot in the cosmos. He'd imagine all the armies of the world as just swarms of ants fighting over a piece of sugar.
Which can sound kind of nihilistic, you know? Oh, great, I'm just a meaningless ant. But that's not the point of it.
Not at all. It's the opposite of nihilistic. It's profoundly liberating. Because if you're stuck in the small story of being cut off in traffic, your ego is screaming. Your body goes into fight or flight. You feel personally attacked.
How dare they?
Right. But if, in that moment, you can just, for a second, widen the lens to the big mind perspective, to the view of the entire city, the planet, the cosmos, that single car becomes utterly insignificant.
The weight of it just evaporates.
It loses its power over you. You realize you are a part of a vast, intricate, unfolding process. And in the context of that process, this minor inconvenience is, well, it's nothing. It restores a sense of proportion.
Proportion, that's the key word.
It is.
Okay, so framework component 1 is to widen the frame. What's the second component? And the outline says attention shapes experience.
This flows directly from that first principle we talked about.
Yeah.
That the universe is fundamentally mental.
If the all is mind, and we are sort of thoughts within that mind,
then the tool we use to navigate and create our personal reality is attention. The Kybalion speaks of the universe being created through divine attention. It argues that our small human attention is a microcosm of that same creative power.
we create our world with our focus.
And this isn't just ancient mysticism. Modern psychology has a name for the mechanism, the reticular activating system, or RAS.
The RAS, that's the brain's filter, right?
Yeah.
The famous example is you buy a new blue car, and then suddenly you see blue cars everywhere you look.
Exactly. It's not that more blue cars suddenly appeared. It's that you told your brain, blue cars are now important to me. So the RAS, which is like a bouncer for your conscious mind, starts letting all the blue cars through the velvet rope.
And it ignores all the silver and black cars it was letting in yesterday.
Right. Your brain is hit with millions of bits of data every second. It has to filter. Your attention is the instruction you give to the filter. So if your internal monologue is, the world is dangerous and people are untrustworthy,
Then your bouncer, the RAS, is going to let in every news story about crime, every person who looks at you sideways.
correct. You will literally experience a more dangerous and untrustworthy world, because that's what your brain is filtering for. But if you deliberately align your attention with the stability of the all, if you look for connection, for opportunity, for the good, you amplify that experience.
So we're not just passive viewers of the movie. Our attention is the camera operator, choosing what to focus on.
And the editor, choosing which shots to linger on. You become what you contemplate. That's a deep, deep truth. If you spend your day contemplating the chaos and outrage on social media,
You become chaotic and outraged.
your mind takes on that fragmented, reactive, aggressive quality. You literally start thinking in that rhythm. By choosing to place your attention on the substantial reality, the fact that you are breathing, that you are conscious, that there is a stable ground beneath the chaos, you cultivate stability within yourself.
That is a powerful responsibility. Okay, that brings us to the third component of the framework. Humility beats ego. This part of the Kybalion reads like a big, flashing warning sign.
It really is. The text is very direct in its warning against what it calls presumption. There's a very common trap people fall into when they first encounter these ideas of mentalism and being part of the all.
The I am God trap.
The I am God trap. You see it a lot. People grasp the idea that they are a part of this infinite mind, and their ego immediately hijacks it, proclaims, therefore, I am the whole thing.
And that usually comes with a heavy dose of arrogance.
The text has a great line about the half-wise who, puffed up with a little knowledge, run about the world shouting, I am God. It says they do this to the great amusement of the masses and the deep sorrow of the sages.
Because it's a fundamental misunderstanding. It's a category error.
A huge one. The book uses the analogy of being a drop in the ocean. You're of the all, absolutely. The drop is made of the same water as the ocean. But the drop is not the entire ocean.
The drop can't create a tsunami.
Exactly. The drop doesn't contain the whales and the vast ecosystems. To claim to be the whole thing is the height of ego. The text also warns against projecting our own human pettiness onto the all.
Meaning?
Thinking that the infinite mind is concerned with our specific desires for praise, or gets jealous, or takes sides in our arguments, that's just shrinking the infinite down to the size of our own small ego.
Joe, the real power isn't in declaring yourself God, but in recognizing your place within the whole system.
Precisely. And honestly, there's such a relief in that.
How so?
Well, if you believe you're God, the pressure is immense. You're solely responsible for everything. You have to bend the entire universe to your will. It's exhausting.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly stressful.
But if you realize you are a part of a vast, intelligent system, your job isn't to control the whole system. It's just to play your part well, to harmonize with the whole. Humility allows you to relax and trust the larger structure.
So the framework is widen your perspective, direct your attention wisely, and stay humble. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. How do we use this framework as a practical stabilizer to, stop freaking out so much?
To do that, we have to talk about another core Hermetic principle, rhythm, the principle of the pendulum.
The idea that everything swings.
Everything. The text says everything flows out and in, everything has its tides, all things rise and fall. It's the rhythm of life. Good moods and bad moods, success and failure, high energy and low energy.
And most of us are basically strapped to the bottom of the pendulum.
We are. When the pendulum swings to the right, praise, success, happiness, we feel amazing, we're flying high. But gravity is a law. That pendulum is going to swing back.
And it swings to the left. Failure, criticism, sadness.
And because our identity and well-being are attached to the weight at the bottom, we crash.
Yeah.
We are complete victims of the swing. We are thermometers just reflecting our position on the arc.
But the sage, the master of this philosophy, does something different.
They use the idea of the all to find the fulcrum.
The fulcrum, that's the pivot point at the very top of the pendulum, right?
Exactly. Think about the physics of it. The weight at the bottom swings in a wide, wild arc. But the pivot point at the top, it barely moves. It just rotates calmly in place. It's the point of stillness in the midst of motion.
So the goal is to mentally climb up the pendulum's arm to that still point.
That's the practice. By anchoring your core identity in the big mind, in the substantial reality, the screen, rather than in the temporary event, the scene in the movie, you detach from the violence of the swing.
You can observe the swing without being the swing.
You can say, I feel sadness arriving. I recognize this part of the rhythm. But the I that is observing is not the sadness itself. You let the wave of emotion pass through you or under you without getting swept away by it.
The screen doesn't get sad when a sad scene plays.
It just holds it.
Yeah.
And this leads directly to the next practical benefit, increasing your chosen response. This connects Hermeticism directly with the Stoic idea of the discipline of assent.
There's that great line, between stimulus and response, there is a space.
And inhabiting the big mind perspective is that space. When you're trapped in your small story, there's no space. The stimulus and insult and the response anger are fused together. It's instant. It's robotic.
It's just blind energy reacting.
But when you anchor yourself in the all, you create a pause, a gap. And in that gap, you can perform what the text calls mental alchemy.
You get to choose.
You get to choose. You can ask, is anger the most useful response here? What is actually happening? Is this a genuine threat, or is it just my ego feeling bruised?
You move from being a puppet of your environment to a conscious agent.
And that really is the definition of freedom in this philosophy. Not getting to do whatever you want, but not being a slave to your own automatic reactions.
That's it entirely.
The outline also includes ethical use and restraint under the idea of a stabilizer. How do ethics fit in with managing my own mental state?
Because in this framework, ethics aren't just a set of arbitrary rules for being a good person. Ethics are structural. They're about physics.
Explain that. If we are all truly held within the same infinite living mind, then at our deepest level, we are all connected.
We're all leaves on the same tree.
Exactly. So what happens if one leaf on a tree decides to poison the branch it's attached to?
It ultimately poisons itself.
Right. From this perspective, harming another person isn't just a moral transgression. It's metaphysical self-sabotage. It's the right hand attacking the left. It creates discord in the very system you are a part of.
And you can't be stable if you're creating instability in the system around you.
You can't. Your mind can't be at peace if you're acting like a cancer cell in the larger body of the all. This is why concepts like the golden rule or the golden mean aren't just nice ideas. They are structural laws for maintaining your own mental and spiritual equilibrium.
It's not just be nice, it's Don't break the machine that you live inside.
You've got it.
Now, any powerful idea can be twisted, and I feel like all is mind is particularly easy to misuse. We have to talk about the common ways people get this wrong.
Yes. This is crucial. The number one misuse, and probably the most toxic one, is what's called spiritual bypassing.
I've heard that term. It's when you use spiritual concepts to avoid dealing with your actual human life.
That's it. It's when someone uses a phrase like, it's all an illusion, or just raise your vibration, to ignore real-world suffering, either their own or someone else's.
So if a friend is grieving and I say, hey, death isn't real, it's all just mine, I'm not being enlightened, I'm just being a jerk.
You're being a spiritual narcissist.
Wow.
And the Kybalion is incredibly clear about this. It makes a firm distinction between the absolute point of view and the relative point of view.
What's the difference?
From the perspective of the all, the absolute, the whole universe might be a mental creation, a dream. But for you and me, living as characters inside that dream, it is very real.
For the character in the movie, the bullet is real.
Absolutely. The text warns that we must abide by the laws of the plane we are on. It says that if you get hit by a falling rock, it's going to hurt, no matter what your philosophy is. We have to pay our rent, we have to be kind, we have to acknowledge and work with the reality in front of us. Call injustice just a thought is an abdication of responsibility.
Right. Don't be so heavenly minded, you're of no earthly good. Okay, misuse number 2, manifestation guarantees.
Ah, yes. The cosmic vending machine idea.
Where you treat the all like a magical concierge. Dear infinite mind, I'll have a red sports car and a winning lottery ticket, please.
This is a total degradation of the philosophy. It turns a profound metaphysical concept into simple greed. The focus of Hermeticism is on mental transmutation.
Transmutation of what?
Of yourself, of your own character. It's about transmuting fear into courage, ignorance into wisdom, agitation into peace. It's about changing your state of being.
So it's about changing you, not about magically changing the world to give you more stuff.
The external changes are often a natural byproduct of becoming a more effective, coherent person. But they are the side effect, not the goal. It's internal alchemy, not external magic tricks.
That's a huge distinction. And the third misuse you have listed is superstition and obsession.
This is the anxiety trap. Oh no, I just had a negative thought. I'm going to manifest something terrible.
I think we've all felt that little panic. You start trying to police every single thought in your head.
Which is the fastest way to create more anxiety. It's completely counterproductive. The whole tone of the Kybalion is one of calm confidence. It's about resting in the security of the big mind, not living in fear of your own thoughts. If you're obsessing, you're right back in the small story.
You're trying to frantically control every wave instead of learning to float.
Perfectly said.
Okay, let's make this even more concrete. We promised practical application. Let's walk through 3 common modern scenarios and see how this framework applies. Not for a sage on a mountaintop, but for someone with a job and a family. Scenario 1, work pressure.
Okay, so the situation is, there's a huge deadline looming, or maybe the company's restructuring. There are rumors of layoffs. The office air is thick with anxiety.
The universe of change is in full swing. The movie is getting tense.
Right, the default small story reaction is to panic. What if I lose my job, my house, I'll be a failure? The body clenches up, the mind gets foggy, you can't focus.
So what's the shift? How do we apply the big mind framework here?
The shift is to consciously widen the frame. You take a breath and you remind yourself, this job is a scene in my life's movie. It is not the screen. You remember that your fundamental existence, your substantial reality, is not dependent on this job title. You have survived every single difficult day you've ever had up to this point.
That immediately lowers the stakes. It takes the existential threat out of it. It's no longer life or death.
And from that calmer place, you can choose your action. The action is to simply pick the next right action. This is pure stoic practice. Instead of being paralyzed by a mountain of dread, you just ask, what is the single most useful thing I can do in the next 5 minutes?
Maybe that's sending one important email or organizing your to-do list.
Exactly. You move from being frozen to being in flow. You do the work that's in front of you, but you do it with a sense of detachment from the ultimate outcome, which you can't control anyway.
Okay. Scenario 2. Relationships. Conflict. This is a big one for everybody.
The biggest.
Okay.
So the situation, you're in a heated argument with your partner. They say something that hits a nerve, triggers a deep insecurity. It feels like a fundamental attack on who you are.
The penny is pressed right up against your eyeball. The ego is on red alert.
And the small story script immediately starts playing. Defend yourself, attack back. Win the argument. Hurt them so they know how much they hurt you.
It's pure reaction. So what's the shift?
You take that crucial half-second pause.
Yeah.
You step back mentally and ask the question, what does the big mind perspective look like here? From the perspective of the all, of the deep connection that underlies your relationship, is being right about who left the towel on the floor more important than the harmony between you?
No, of course not.
You see that the argument is just a tiny ripple on the surface of a much deeper ocean of connection. And from that perspective, you choose your action.
Which is not to escalate.
No, you choose repair language. You drop your weapons. You say something like, okay, I'm feeling really defensive right now. Can we pause for a second? I want to understand where you're coming from. You consciously transmute the energy of the conversation from battle to collaboration.
That is incredibly difficult to do when you feel attacked.
It's the work of a lifetime. But every time you do it, you strengthen the foundation of the relationship instead of chipping away at it.
Okay, final one. Scenario 3, habits. Specifically, the drift.
The drift, we all know it. The situation. You find yourself doom scrolling on your phone. You've been meaning to work on that project, but instead you're just numbly swiping. You're in a low-energy, passive state.
I have lost entire evenings to the drift. You kind of wake up from a trance and wonder where the last 2 hours went.
Exactly. So the shift is to remember one of our core framework principles. Attention is a creative act. In that moment, you realize you are actively using your creative power to generate a state of anxiety and distraction within yourself. You're not a victim of the algorithm. You are a participant, and you can choose to stop participating.
You reclaim your mental sovereignty and the action.
This is where a tool from modern psychology called an implementation intention is so useful. It's a simple if-then plan.
Okay.
If I find myself drifting and doom scrolling, then I will immediately do one proof action.
A proof action. What's that?
It's a small physical action that proves to your brain that you are in charge, not the drift. It could be standing up. It could be putting your phone into the room. It could be doing 5 push-ups, drinking a full glass of water.
Something that breaks the physical pattern and shocks the system a little?
Precisely. It breaks the trance. It uses the body to anchor the mind back in the present intentional moment.
I love that. It's so practical. Okay, speaking of practice, we have a guided exercise in our notes. Let's actually do it. It's called the All Perspective Reset.
Right.
So for everyone listening, if you're in a place where you can do so safely, just take a moment. If you're driving, please keep your eyes on the road, but you can follow along mentally. If you're seated, just let your feet rest on the floor.
Take a breath and just arrive in this moment.
All right. Step 1. Pause and soften the body. Consciously drop your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. Let the muscles in your forehead relax. Let your stomach be soft.
The body is where the small story lives as tension. Releasing the tension is the first step to releasing the story.
Step 2. Name the situation in neutral words. Bring to mind something that's causing you stress right now. Then just describe it like a reporter, stripping out all the emotional adjectives. So instead of my horrible, disastrous project, it becomes a project with a deadline.
You're separating the data from the drama.
Step 3. Silently, to yourself, say this calm frame line. There is more than my story. Just let that land. There is more than my story.
You are acknowledging the all, the screen behind the movie, the vast context in which this one event is happening.
Step 4. Choose the response you want to practice. Don't think about what you don't want to feel. Choose what you do want to embody. Is it patience? Is it clarity? Courage? Calm? Just pick one word.
This is the act of mentalism. You're consciously setting your own internal thermostat.
Step 5. Choose one proof action you will do today, not a whole list. Just one tiny concrete action that is an expression of the response you just chose.
Ground the intention in the physical world.
And finally, step 6. Release the need to force outcomes. Do your proof action, but let go of controlling what happens next. Trust the substantial reality. Trust the process.
Do the work and then let it go.
Wow. Even just walking through that, I feel a shift. It really is a reset button.
And it's a muscle. The more you use it, the faster and more effective it becomes.
Okay, before we recap, let's just quickly run through a few common misunderstandings that people have and give the direct correction. First, if it's all mental, then my physical pain isn't real.
The correction is, pain is absolutely real on the physical plane of the senses. We respect it, we treat it, but we don't let it become our entire identity. You have pain, but you are not only your pain. There is more than that story.
This understanding, too. I am God.
The correction. You are of the all, like a single cell is of your body. You are essential, you contain the blueprint of the whole, but you are not the whole body. Humility is the path to true power, not ego.
Misunderstanding 3. I can control everything with my mind.
The correction. You can master your own judgment and your response. You cannot control the external universe. You are the captain of your own ship, not the master of the storm.
Misunderstanding 4. This is just another religion.
The correction. This is a philosophical framework describing the mechanics of mind and reality. It's compatible with any religion, or none at all. It's about how the operating system works, not which software you choose to run on it.
And the last one. This requires me to be perfectly positive and zen all the time.
The correction. It requires practice, not perfection. The goal isn't to never drift. The goal is to get better at returning to center. You will get lost. The whole practice is in the gentle act of coming back, over and over again.
The practice is coming back. I love that. That feels so much more achievable.
That's the whole game.
All right, that was a huge amount of information. Let's try to boil it down to a quick recap.
Let's do it.
First, the all is the stable, unchanging reality behind the chaos of daily life. It is the screen, not the movie.
Next, because our reality is mental, our attention is our most powerful tool for shaping our experience.
We get to frame our lives. We can choose the small story of panic and ego, or the big mind story of perspective and stability.
Humility is key. Recognizing we're part of a larger whole reduces the stressful burden of trying to control everything ourselves.
We use this framework to stabilize our own emotions, not to bypass or deny the reality of the physical world and its challenges.
Action is the anchor. A mental shift has to be backed up by a small, physical proof action to make it real.
And finally, a deep sense of peace can come from learning to rest in the security of that infinite living mind.
A very thorough summary.
And we are really just scratching the surface here. Next time, we're going even deeper into the mechanics. We've established the what, but next time we explore the how.
How does the mind actually shape reality?
Yes. We're going to explore the topic of the mental universe, mind as medium.
It's where we get into how thoughts and vibrations can actually be transmuted. It's going to be a fascinating conversation.
It will be. So as we close today, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. If it's true that the universe is a living mind, and if your consciousness is a part of that mind, what does it mean that the same fundamental observer that is looking out through your eyes is also looking out through mine, and through the eyes of the person you're about to argue with? What changes if you really sit with that?
A question to ponder.
Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.